In this video, I'm going to show you how to completely disassemble and then reassemble this Lumix ZS40. Now this will be the same process for a TZ60. Before you get started though, be sure to download and print out this screw layout guide that I drew for you. I'll put a link to this diagram in the description of this video. All you need to do is to take a piece of double-sided tape and put it over the top of each yellow screw head that's on the diagram. Then when you take a screw out of the camera, stand the screw on its head on the yellow screw at the correct location. You'll need a 4/0 Phillips head screwdriver for the screws. Be sure to remove both the battery and the SD card before you start. We'll start by removing this back panel piece. There's 5 screws that hold it on. Now just stand the screw on its head at the correct location on the diagram. The tape will hold it in place too. Now with those 5 screws removed, we should be able to just lift this back panel right off. Just grab it down along the bottom here where these 2 pieces join up and pull this piece out. Just slide it out gently and then lift it off of there all the way around the camera. Don't pry up too hard because you could break it. Next we'll remove this small control board right here. Just push back on it a little bit and this end will come unlocked. Then you can lift up on it. And that'll expose some flat ribbon cable underneath that goes into this small socket right here. All we have to do is to lift up on this black tab that's down here and that will unlock it. With that tab up, we can just pull that flat ribbon cable right out. Next, we'll remove the main LCD display unit. All we need to do is just to slide it back just slightly in this direction. That'll release this tab that's on this end that's inside a groove. So just pull it back and then you can lift up on it. And when you fold it back, you can see that there's a flat ribbon cable underneath it. So all we need to do with this flat ribbon cable is to pick up on this bar right here, this black tab, and that'll unlock that connector. And you should be able to pull that flat ribbon cable right out. Now we'll go ahead and remove these 2 screws right here. Next, we'll go ahead and remove this metal shield right here. There's 4 screws that hold it down. One here, one here, one down here, and one over here. To remove the shield, all we need to do is to lift up on it, but there is one spot right here where there's a little tab that goes inside a notch on this metal shield. So we need to pull back right here on this plastic and pull it away from the shield, and then you can lift up on it and it should come right off. Now we can go ahead and remove this piece of plastic right here. Just lift up on it, there's nothing holding it down. Now we can go ahead and remove this piece right here that goes over the HDMI connection. Just lift up on it, there's nothing holding it on now. Next we'll go ahead and remove this end piece. Before we can though, we need to disconnect this flat ribbon cable right here. Just lift up on this white tab that's on the end, and that'll unlock it. Then you can slide the cable right out. With the flat ribbon cable disconnected, we can take this end off by lifting up on this small piece of plastic right here. Just put a screwdriver underneath it and lift it up. And once that's started, you can just pick up on it on this side. Now there's going to be two pieces of plastic that are still kind of holding it on that go into a couple of little notches on that side. So be careful, just lift it gently and then it'll come right out. The next part that we'll take out is the lens unit assembly. That's this part right here. Before we can do that, we're going to need to disconnect 4 of these flat ribbon cables here. With the 4 flat ribbon cables disconnected, you should be able to just lift that lens unit right out. Now we can go ahead and remove the main board. That's this one right here. We just need to disconnect this flat ribbon cable, unlock it first, and then pull it out. Now there's a socket on the back side of this board that plugs into this top part. So we need to lift up on it to unplug that, but just be sure to do it carefully so that you don't bend the board and break it. See, this was the plug right here that was plugged into that socket. Now this main board also has the SD card slot on the back side. Next we'll take the top piece off. We'll need to remove one screw that's down inside right here. Before we can lift this top piece off, we need to lift this flat ribbon cable off of this small post that's going through it. Just put a small screwdriver underneath and lift. Once that flat ribbon cable is unhooked from it, we just need to lift up on this small piece of plastic right here that has a tab going inside that little hole. And at the same time, just lift up on the entire top piece. And it'll come right off. Now we can go ahead and remove this entire front piece. There's only one screw holding it on. That's right here. The front piece should lift right off of there right now, but we may need to put a small screwdriver underneath this piece of metal right here that's connected to the front piece. Just lift it up a little ways. Once you have it up above that little notch, it should just lift right off of there. Now there's just one circuit board left, and this is for the battery connection. There's only one screw that holds it in. So that's all we have to do to take it out. But we also need to take this piece off from the end. It's just a piece of plastic that goes over the lanyard post. So with that screw out, we can lift this piece of metal which the lanyard connects to right off of there. And with that off of there, we can lift this board out, which has the connections for the battery on the back side. The last part that we can take off is this focus ring. There's 3 screws on the back side that hold it on. Now if you needed to change out the battery door, all you would need to do is to push this pin right here all the way through. It goes through this spring right here, which has got some tension on it. But if you pull that out, you could actually replace the spring and the door if you wanted to. Okay, that's pretty much every piece that we can take off. I'll go ahead and start reassembling it now. We'll start by putting the focus ring back on the front cover. Now when you line it up, just look for this small hole right here and this post. Be sure that post goes inside the hole, and there's another one down here. Once you have that lined up that way, you can put the 3 screws back in then. Okay, so we can see that we've used every screw that we put on this diagram. Now we'll go ahead and put the battery back in and try it out. That's all there is to it.